Today is Thursday, November 17th. I'm Emanuel, and this is CMBG News. In today's top stories, Southwest Airlines was sued by an Illinois man over the discount carrier's decision to stop honoring coupons for free alcoholic drinks, which it had given to select travelers and which lacked expiration dates. The plaintiff, Adam Levitt, said Southwest had for years awarded customers like him who bought tickets through its premium price Business Select program hundreds of thousands of coupons for the drinks, which would otherwise cost $5 each. But on August 1st, 2010, Southwest changed its policy and said Business Select passengers may use their coupons only on the day of travel printed on them. Some other passengers were given more time. Levitt, who lives in the Chicago area, said the policy change amounted to a breach of contract. He attached to his complaint copies of 45 coupons for free drinks, which he said he had accumulated and which the change left worthless. The lawsuit seeks class action status for Southwest customers in the United States with unredeemed drink coupons. It seeks compensatory damages and other remedies. Police arrested scores of anti-Wall Street protesters in San Francisco on Wednesday after they occupied a Bank of America branch in the city's financial district. Demonstrators flooded into the bank during an organized march that began at the protesters' downtown encampment and ended at a state office building a few blocks away. The group set up a tent inside the bank branch as more than 100 bystanders watched from outside, and police in riot helmets arrested the occupiers one by one, bringing them to the waiting bus. One protester waved a sign inside that read, "Make banks pay." Another held up a sign to a local television station that said they were protesting the link between California's public higher education system and the banks. The protesters chanted, "We are the 99%," as they were taken into custody, alluding to the richest 1% of the U.S. population that the activists say control a disproportionate share of the nation's wealth and power. Well, Boeing has landed a record wide-body jetliner contract. Here is a video showing how far the jetliner has come. Emirates Airline has agreed to an $18 billion deal with Boeing to deliver 50 777-300 extended range wide-body aircraft, with an option for an additional purchase. This is the largest civil contract Boeing has ever had. This also pushes B-77 orders for the year to record levels for the Washington-based aerospace firm at 182 aircraft orders. The previous record was 154 orders in 2005. This order also furthers Boeing's edge over chief rival Airbus in the wide-body airline market.
From one side to the other, it's as wide as 2 football fields. It's over 6 stories tall and nearly as long as a New York City block. Its landing gear is comprised of 14 wheels capable of carrying a total load of 777,000 pounds, and the hours spent on pre-flight testing add up to more than a full week. Completing the package are twin engines, the largest ever on a commercial airliner, with each generating an incredible 115,000 pounds of thrust. The end result is one incredible flying experience. Welcome aboard the Emirates Boeing 777.
Emirates already operates 94 Boeing 777s in its fleet and intends to use the new 300 extended range models for long-haul routes. Here is a finished product of the jetliner. All I can say is wow. A federal magistrate judge refused to grant bail on Wednesday to 4 retired Georgia men jailed on charges linked to an alleged plot to bomb government buildings and spread a lethal biological toxin along major U.S. highways. Ruling from the bench, U.S. Magistrate Judge Susan Cole said there was too much evidence that the defendants posed a danger to their communities to free them while they await trial. Samuel Crump, 68, and Ray H. Adams, 65, are charged with conspiring and attempting to produce the biological toxin ricin, which can be fatal if ingested or inhaled. They could receive life sentences if convicted. Frederick Thomas, 73, and Emery Dan Roberts, 67, are charged with conspiring to possess an unregistered explosive device and possession of an unregistered silencer and face a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison. All four men, who are accused of being part of a fringe domestic militia group, have pleaded not guilty to the charges. Defense attorneys said they would appeal Cole's ruling. The judge's decision came after nearly 3 days of testimony, argument, and the playing of excerpts from conversations secretly recorded by an informant. Federal prosecutors say the men had plans to carry out attacks against federal buildings and employees. In U.S. news today, Detroit Mayor Dave Bing warned on Wednesday the city could run out of cash by April and called for wage cuts for police and firefighters and a corporate tax increase to avoid the appointment of an emergency manager. Bing, who said the city was in discussions to turn over transportation and lighting to private management, said Detroit residents would lose the ability to control the city's future if the government continued down the same path. Bing said Detroit had a potential cash shortfall of $45 million by the end of the current fiscal year, next June, without the changes, which would include the increase of less than 1% in the corporate tax rate effective January 1st. Detroit, the once mighty U.S. auto capital, has seen its population and fortunes suffer with the decline of the U.S.-based automakers from the peak in the 1950s. Cost cutting is critical if Detroit is to avoid joining Pontiac, Benton Harbor, and other Michigan cities under the control of a state-appointed emergency manager. This and more news coming up right here after this short break. Welcome back to CMBG News. I'm Emanuel. In today's world news, the UN nuclear watchdog wants to send a high-level mission to Iran to address mounting concerns it may be seeking to design atom bombs. Tehran was expected to face censure at a meeting of agency member states. An International Atomic Energy Agency report last week assessing that Iran has been conducting research and experiments geared to developing a nuclear weapons capability has stoked tensions in the Middle East and heightened Western pressure for harsher sanctions against the Islamic Republic. IAEA Chief Yukiya Amano announced his proposal at a meeting of its 35-nation governing board, where 6 major powers were set to close ranks to express deep concern about Iran's activities and call on it to open up fully to UN inspectors. Vienna-based Western diplomats said the powers had agreed to compromise language for a draft resolution to be put to governors for approval by Friday, after Western states and Russia overcame divisions sparked by the IAEA's report on Iran. Unidentified gunmen shot dead a senior Yemeni security police officer in the southern port of Aden on Wednesday, a local official said, in the latest of a series of attacks during 10 months of mass protests against the president. Colonel Akwadi was shot in a busy market and the assailants were able to escape. He died at the scene. Neighboring oil giant Saudi Arabia and the United States fear spreading anarchy in Yemen is emboldening Al-Qaeda's regional wing, one of the global Islamist network's most aggressive branches. In southern Yemen, tens of thousands of refugees have fled to Aden and neighboring provinces to escape the fighting, and the army has struggled to regain territory lost in the militants. Syria's allies in Russia called for urgent talks Thursday between Damascus and the opposition, saying an attack by Syrian renegade troops on a government building the previous day looks like the start of a civil war. Assad is facing severe international isolation stemming from his crackdown on an 8-month-old uprising, which the UN estimates has killed 3,500 people. The Arab League suspended Damascus on Wednesday and threatened economic sanctions if the violence continues. A group of army defectors determined to bring down the regime fired machine guns and rockets at an Air Force intelligence base on Wednesday just outside Damascus, a brazen attack that sent a strong signal the popular uprising could descend into an armed conflict. Even as Assad was losing allies in quick succession, Russia and China kept up their long-standing ties with Damascus. In October, they vetoed a UN Security Council resolution that threatened sanctions against Syria. But on Thursday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Louis Wyman appeared to suggest China might support a resolution in the future. The crisis appears to be spiraling out of Assad's control, however, as attacks by army defectors increase and world leaders look at possibilities for a Syrian regime without him. A Pennsylvania lawyer representing one of 8 boys alleged to be victims in the Penn State sexual child abuse case called Jerry Sandusky a coward. Ben Andreassi said that Sandusky's recent comments on television did nothing but make his client want to dig in his heels. Mr. Sandusky suggested in some of his comments about the victims that maybe people were backing off. Andreassi said, "The comments may have backfired. They have caused victims to be more motivated to testify against him." Andreassi said his client, now in his 20s, met Sandusky through Sandusky's charity, The Second Mile. He said he had been around Sandusky for several years and was assaulted multiple times. Andreassi has also advised other alleged victims in the case and said he was meeting with another potential victim this week. Sandusky, a former Penn State assistant, has been charged with 40 counts related to sexual abuse of boys over a period of 15 years. He said he was innocent of all charges in a telephone interview with NBC's Bob Costas on Monday. But Penn State isn't the only college dealing with a sex abuse scandal. Officials at the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina, are admitting they did not do enough after learning that Louis Skip Reveal, a Citadel alum, now in custody, engaged in inappropriate sexual activities with boys during a summer camp at the college in 2002. An internal investigation was done, but police were never informed. As an institution responsible for delivering tomorrow's leaders, we hold the Citadel to a higher standard, Citadel President General John Rosa said Monday. We tell cadets to go beyond enforcing rules to do what's right. We are confronted with an investigation from 2007 in which I do not believe we met that standard. In 2007, as Charleston's Post and Courier reports, Citadel officials were told by a suspected victim that 5 years earlier, Reveal had invited him and other boys to a dorm room on campus where they engaged in sexual activities. The boy was 14 years old at the time. Reveal went on to become a school principal and coach in Mount Pleasant. Local WCSC-TV reports that investigators say he has now confessed to charges he sexually molested teen boys aged 13 to 15. In world news today, President Obama and Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard unveiled plans yesterday to deepen the U.S. military presence in the Asia Pacific, with 2,500 U.S. Marines operating out of a de facto base in northern Australia. With my visit to the region, I am making it clear that the United States is stepping up its commitment to the entire Asia Pacific region, Obama told a joint news conference with Gillard in Canberra. Beginning next year, U.S. troops and aircraft will operate out of the tropical city of Darwin, only 500 miles from Indonesia, able to respond quickly to any humanitarian and security issues in Southeast Asia, where disputes over sovereignty of the South China Sea are causing rising tension. Obama said it is appropriate for us to make sure that the security architecture for the region is updated for the 21st century, and this initiative is going to allow us to do that. Several hours after the announcement, Obama declared the U.S. is not afraid of China, by far the biggest and most powerful country in the region. The United States is a Pacific power, and we are here to stay, he declared in a speech to the Australian Parliament, sending an unmistakable message to Beijing. Obama's visit marked the first time a sitting U.S. president has been to Darwin, where U.S. and Australian forces were killed in a Japanese attack during World War II. Well, a storm sweeping through the southeast killed 5 people Wednesday, causing injuries in several states. At least 3 people died and 5 others were taken to hospitals after a storm hit York County in South Carolina, according to the sheriff's office. A 4th person died in Forsyth County, Georgia, when a tree fell on a car, the fire department said. Downed trees, damaged homes and buildings, and power outages were reported across Alabama and Georgia, including in metro Atlanta. The damaging storm's cleanup continues today. This and more news coming up right after this short break on CMBG News. Welcome back to CMBG News. I'm Corey Emanuel. Well, it was a close call. Students almost had access to more nutritious school lunches, but Congress put a stop to that. In one swoop, Congress successfully defended the taxpayers' right to buy fast food for school children and have prevented several food industries from feeling a slap from the invisible hand of the free market. USDA had proposed limiting the use of potatoes, putting new restrictions on sodium, and boosting the use of whole grains. However, a new bill has blocked all of those efforts. School meals that are subsidized by the federal government must include a certain amount of vegetables, and USDA's proposal could have pushed pizza makers and potato growers out of the school lunch business. Conservatives have argued that the federal government shouldn't tell children what to eat. The school lunch proposal was based on 2009 recommendations by the Institute of Medicine, the health arm of the National Academy of Sciences. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack had said that the recommendations were necessary to reduce childhood obesity and future health care costs. Moving over to entertainment news today, yesterday I reported that teen heartthrob Justin Bieber was no longer being sued by 20-year-old single mother Mariah Yeater, who had filed a lawsuit seeking a paternity test and child support from Bieber. However, the saga doesn't end there. Bieber is not backing down, according to the star's publicist, Matthew Hilsick. "We intend to still hold them accountable," he said. Yeater reportedly gave interviews to Star Magazine, The Insider, and possibly others, upon which she was paid to share the alleged intimate details of her encounter with Bieber. Perhaps there is truth to the saying, "scared to death." A recent study has found that females are 7 to 9 times more likely to suffer broken heart syndrome when a sudden or prolonged stress like an emotional breakup or death causes overwhelming heart failure or heart attack-like symptoms. The classic case is a woman who has just lost her husband, said Dr. Mario Jessup, a University of Pennsylvania heart failure specialist who has treated many such cases. Cindy Bison feared that was happening when her husband Joel suffered a massive heart attack in 2005. "May God work through your hands," the Maine woman told the surgeon as her husband was wheeled past her into the operating room. She later collapsed at a nurse's station from broken heart syndrome and wound up in coronary care with him. Both survived. Bison was 57 when her attack occurred. She's now 63. "I remember grabbing the counter and a black curtain coming down before my eyes," she said in a telephone interview. Her attack was so severe that she went into full cardiac arrest and had to have her heart shocked back into normal rhythm. Although most such attacks resolve around permanent damage, she later needed to have a defibrillator implanted. About 1% of such cases prove fatal, the new study shows. About 10% of victims will have a second episode sometime in their lives. And although heart attacks happen more in winter, broken heart syndrome is more common in summer. Well, a group of Filipino students decided to put Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in the hot seat. On Wednesday, during a town hall meeting in the Philippines, Clinton took personal questions from students, offering answers about what she keeps in her purse and her relationship with her daughter. After meetings with President Aquino on issues such as South China Sea territorial disputes and the U.S.-Philippines Defense Alliance, Clinton was met by student journalists and bloggers organized by the Philippines GMA network. Clinton welcomed questions from social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter. "What's in your purse?" a viewer asked on Twitter. "In addition to makeup, usually my BlackBerry and papers of all kinds," Clinton replied, adding that her job entails flying around the world with much more than a tote bag. Asked about what music she keeps in her iPad, Clinton told the crowd of about 100 mostly college students, "I'm a child of the 60s, which is before any of you were born. So everything I grew up with, you know, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, the Who and the Doors, I mean all of that. Plus, I like classical music because I find it relaxing when I'm thinking about some stressful things." Some at the event said that they would want to see her in the White House, but she said that her days in politics are numbered. "I appreciate that, but I really believe that it's time for me to finish my public service," Clinton said, adding she expected President Barack Obama to win a second term. "I'll figure out what other ways to serve." Clinton is visiting U.S. trio allies Thailand and the Philippines before attending the week's annual East Asia Summit in Indonesia. Here's a 10-second clip of Clinton's trip to the Philippines.
You will listen.
I can't comment on something like that. It's not really within my authority. But certainly if a request were made, we would look at that.
She maintains the same attitude throughout the 45-minute event.
In today's tech news, Google is ready to take on iTunes. Google has officially opened its own digital music store, and prices are comparable to iTunes. Songs purchased from the store are automatically uploaded to Google Music, a locker that can be accessed from an app coming to recent Android phones and tablets in the next few days, or from a website. They allow users to stream songs from their various devices. The Google Locker service launched to a small group in May and opened to everyone in the United States on Wednesday. Google Music is free for storing as many as 20,000 songs. At Google, digital music has become fundamental to many things we care very much about, Jamie Rosenberg, Google's director of content for Android, said on stage at the news conference. Other cloud music services think you have to pay to listen to the music you own. We don't. Google touted that, unlike other music stores, people who find songs through Google Plus will be able to listen to each one in full for free one time before they buy. iTunes only provides 90-second previews. Google has also secured exclusive access to live records from popular bands including Coldplay and the Rolling Stones. Apple is still the only music download store that has the Beatles. This and more news coming up right here after this short break. And welcome back to CMBG News. Suspected U.S. drones fired 4 missiles at a home in Pakistan's rugged tribal region near the Afghan border on Thursday, killing 7 alleged militants in the third such strike in as many days, Pakistani intelligence officials said. The strike occurred in the Razmak area of North Waziristan, the main hub of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda militants in Pakistan, said the officials, speaking on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to talk to the media. Elsewhere in the tribal region, Pakistani security forces pounded militants' hideouts in 2 different areas, killing 37 suspected militants, said government officials. The figures could not be independently verified because of the difficulty of reporting in the tribal region. The U.S. has conducted around 200 drone strikes in North Waziristan in recent years, mostly targeting Al-Qaeda militants and Afghan Taliban fighters who were battling American troops in Afghanistan. Norwegian security officials say the Nordic country has been hit by one of the most extensive data espionage attacks in the country's history. The Norwegian National Security Authority says industrial secrets from the oil, energy, and defense industries have been stolen and disseminated. The agency says at least 10 different attacks over the past year were discovered and warns the real number is probably far higher. Spokesman Veer said Thursday that the coordinated attacks seem to have been carried out by more than one person. The agency said that in some cases individually crafted emails infected with viruses were sent to the recipients to sweep entire hard drives for data. Italy's new premier, Mario Monti, vowed today to spur economic growth while also trying to be fair and imposing reforms urgently needed to save his country and the euro from financial disaster. He said his new government's policy would fight tax evasion, lower costs for companies so they can hire more and help women and young people find jobs. Monti, laying out his priorities, said he will concentrate on reining in Italy's spending with rigor, spur growth, and work for fairness in applying reforms. He said he would quickly work on lowering Italy's staggering public debt, which now stands at 120% of GDP. This and more news coming up right after this short break on CMBG News.